Hello everybody, welcome back to a precision farming video. Today is harvest day for corn, sunflowers, and soybeans. In this video, I'm going to focus on corn, and it is now the time for the crops are dried out. It is 11 in the morning, approximately. Now, corn planted after fallow and then after corn is canola is my plan for this rotation. Now here's the thing, before I get started, let me explain what I'm going to do. I'm not going to make you watch me harvest this entire field. I'm going to do about 3 passes, and then I'm going to plow the ground, ready for the next cultivating and seeding, and I believe this does cultivating and seeding at both. And in here is canola with fertilizer, but this time I'm not going to plant oilseed radish because I want to test to see what happens to a field with corn in the soil types that are called loam and sandy loam. Both the field that I'm standing in and the fields with the corn are both pretty much the same soil types. So here is where a really good test comes into play for another reason as well, is because canola reacts the same way to loam and sandy loam as corn does to loam and sandy loam as far as nitrogen goes. And as far as wheat goes too, I think that holds true for wheat, because if we remember in the previous video, it was wheat first, then I planted oilseed radish, then I plowed the oilseed radish back into the ground, which gave me a perfect pH value of 180 for sandy loam and 200 for loam. The same goes with corn, where the nitrogen value is at 200 for loam and 180 for sandy loam. So both of these crops, all 3 of these crops, wheat, canola, and corn, pretty much react the same way. So this is the perfect time to test what it's going to be like not planting oilseed radish, then going directly to the seeder, which fertilizes and adds canola. But the thing I'm not sure about yet is how much nitrogen is going to be left over after the harvest of the corn. In some 80s it's 160, some 80s it's 180. It's a little similar to wheat, but not exactly the same. It looks like the nitrogen is at 160, whereas wheat and canola in sandy loam, the nitrogen value is at 180. So I think what's going to happen is after I fertilize, the nitrogen value is probably only going to be at about 140. Right, if I had not planted oilseed radish first. That's the test. I want to see if that's going to hold true. So I'm just going to maybe do 3 paths worths, see what the nitrogen is first. Let me turn my TV down. There we go. I don't want my TV overpowering my microphone. So it looks like the nitrogen values are pretty. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's the yield. Okay, that's how much value I'm getting. Harvest. The yield is green, and that's good. Let's check out the yield screen. Right there. Looks like I'm getting looks like a 95% all the way up to about 115. Not bad. looks like loam would have been the best choice overall. And you know what? Maybe even silty clay. I've never found any silty clay yet, but I wonder if corn will grow well on silty clay. I wonder. That's what this is all about, this new DLC, along with seasons, has really made the game a totally different, brand new, more fun game in my opinion. Once I do this pass here, it looks like I've got quite a bit of corn to work with. That has already been harvested. Next, run the plow. And seed directly canola into the ground and see if I can have any good nitrogen levels or not. To see whether or not oilseed radish is a good choice or not. If it even matters, I don't know yet. Next, let's check the nitrogen. 60. Okay, that's what was left over after harvesting wheat also. So that's cool. That's the same. I like to hire a worker when I plow the field. Nice straight line, it's a lot faster. Of course, it's very expensive for only a 4-meter plow. Wouldn't want to do this for a very, very large field. It just costs way too much money. But for the purpose of this video as a test, I'm definitely going to hire a worker right now. See if the jump out of the tractor here. Look at this. Okay, the nitrogen is still at 60. Now, I only have one tractor, so it's just the way it's going to have to be. So this is year 1, mid-autumn, 9 days per season. And let's get a close-up of this corn getting plowed over. Sorry, corn, I missed you. You're going back into the soil. I wonder if that's going to have an effect on the nitrogen or not. There. Let's see. Still at 60. I was maybe thinking it would jump to maybe like 80 just for a little bit. Nope. Let's take a look at the field from the precision farming menu. I want to look at the pH value for the lime, whether or not. The pH value is at sitting at a pretty good 6.5, which I believe is good for canola. Yes. Pretty much holds true from the old version of Seasons, where you need probably an application of lime every 3 crops. So every 4th time planted. I'm going to do another pass here on the harvester. Just so we can get a good reading. To do field info readings, you need a good amount of space, just so there's no discrepancies and it doesn't wobble back and forth in between 2 different readings. The reading could be a little bit inaccurate, you know. You want to give yourself plenty of room for your field info screen. Let me show again the screen. I'm not sure if I showed or not. When it comes to the crop rotation plan, if I did. Right over crop rotation plan there. Rotation A is one I'm working on. Rotation B, these will all be separate videos. I will make sure that I cover them. But today is just going to be from corn to canola. And the test also includes, like I said, without adding oilseed radish in between the crop rotation this time, like I did after harvesting the wheat. Okay, looks good. Sorry about that, I'm adjusting my headphones. Yeah, this is going to work nicely here. This will be perfect purpose of fertilizing this ground with canola planted without the step of oilseed radish, which, by the way, would have taken 4 days to grow, because I have 9 days set per season. And from what I've found out, from the first time you plant oilseed radish, for example, this would be day 4 out of 9, it would germinate and be fully grown and ready to put back into the field on day 7. But with the temperature the way it is, that's going to be Thursday. Look at the max temperature is 36. And with seasons, I got to be careful, because if I want to plant canola, the soil temperature has to be right there. It has to be 41 degrees at least. So I don't know if I want to wait or not. Looks like I'm stuck. Oops. Got to dismiss the worker. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I may decide in this video, depending on how much nitrogen is in the soil, to go ahead and plant oilseed radish anyway, and then just wait until next spring to plant the canola. Follow me? It all depends on a lot of factors. Seasons. And I wouldn't really lose that much time if I decided to wait and plant the canola, because oilseed radish will survive the winter. Okay, I'm going to head back to the seeder, and this is one of the defining moments of this video, which my theory is yes, oilseed radish does matter, but this test is going to prove it or not, because corn, wheat, and canola pretty much act the same nitrogen values on loamy sand. I'm sorry, sandy loam, not loamy sand. I get those two confused a lot. Sandy loam and loam. Corn, canola, and wheat so far I've verified, and probably barley too. Looks wrong. Probably oats as well. I haven't tested oats yet. Wheat and barley, pretty much you know are a given, but you never know with this whole new DLC. Alright, I'm gonna hire a worker again. Get a nice straight line going. Now I'm gonna jump out right away and see what I find. Well, look at that. The nitrogen is at 180. No, I'm sorry, 140, 200, 160, 160, 140. Okay. That's interesting. 200 on loam. Okay, and then it goes to sandy loam, and it goes to, well, there's a loam at 160. Looks like the worker is stuck. I'm thinking that oilseed radish does matter because there was really no discrepancies on the other field after the oilseed radish was plowed back into the dirt. Whereas not having the oilseed radish stem does make it look like that the oilseed radish made was not worth it. Because here the nitrogen value is at 180, which was the same as if I had planted oilseed radish. Remember now, the soil types was 60 after both harvesting the wheat and the corn on the same soil type. The nitrogen value was 60, and then when I planted the oilseed radish on the field over here, over there, and then planted the canola into the ground, the nitrogen value was 180. And you would think that the nitrogen value here on this field would be less because I skipped the oilseed radish. But as we walk here, we got a nitrogen of 120. So this makes me think 120, 160. It's not consistent like this field over here, where it's 200 on loam and 180 on sandy loam, and it's consistent throughout. There's no 160s to be found, no 140s for the nitrogen value, for the nitrogen range. I believe it's pH value and nitrogen range, I believe are the correct terms. But with the, oh, am I blocked again? Boy, these workers are not liking their boss, are they? But it's okay, I've got it under control. Okay, I can do another, looks like I need to plow again, but let's just walk here and take a look. 180. 180. So now this isn't bad. I skipped the oilseed radish and I'm getting the same results on this field compared to the other field. So maybe oilseed radish doesn't even matter. That's what this is telling me. But there's also other factors too. I've got to think that maybe you know what? I don't think oilseed radish matters. And if that's the case, that's very disappointing. I just kind of proved that oilseed radish doesn't matter. But I think to get a real good, solid conclusion, I need to do another pass. I need to make that a little bit bigger to see if there's any discrepancies at all. Because earlier when the nitrogen you saw was at 140, I think that was just because it was right on the edge. And you're going to get a little bit of discrepancy. But now that discrepancy is gone. Those 140 ratings are gone. They're all 200s and 180s. But, like I said, let's do another pass. Plow it out again. Plant a little bit more just to get a more accurate, solid reading. And I'll probably need to fill in that space over there too with some canola seed. Right there on the edge. So whoa, the harvester is full. It's alright. Ruined some crop. Happens to the best of us. why Alien Jim has done a terrific job on No Man's Land. This is my first time playing No Man's Land, and I am so happy with it. I've noticed with this trailer, the trigger, for some reason on the edges, on the front and on the back. I don't know why. Just one of those minor glitches. So in this video you got to see what the nitrogen value was after harvest in a field that was at 200 and 180. It's the same as corn, is the same as wheat was after the harvest. The nitrogen value in the same field with the same soil types was also 60. So this test is pretty much, I'm going to say that this test concludes that oilseed radish doesn't matter. In this case, it did not matter. It may matter in cases such as you've got a seeder or a planter that does not have fertilizer at all, just the seeds itself, and you need 40 nitrogen for a field that has 0 nitrogen. Oilseed radish will give you about 40. That's one thing I did discover, is that oilseed radish gave the field on the left, the one that has the canola in it now, when I talked about earlier, the oilseed radish only gave it plus 40 nitrogen. So if you go to a field that has 0 nitrogen in it after a harvest, and you just want 40 nitrogen added to the soil, then oilseed radish would be useful. For the seeder or planter that you're going to use next, that has no fertilizer at all to begin with, you know that that's going to be the perfect amount of nitrogen when you replow the oilseed radish back into the soil. In this case, you would plant your sunflowers or your soybeans because they love low nitrogen. And I forgot to plow it out. One more step. Because I know after a corn harvest, I believe this is the best thing to do. Plow it out first. You know, you got those little stalks in the way still. Okay. We're going to clean this up. Get a nice big path of freshly planted canola with fertilizer in there. So that tells me that that fertilizer that is in the machine is very powerful. If it can put down in a field 180 to 200, that's adding up 120 to 140 added into the soil, which makes it OP, doesn't it? Doesn't that make that overpowered? In my opinion, it does. Hey, but that's just the way it goes. When you have a new DLC, stuff like that happens. That's what these tests are for, to see what works and what doesn't work. What should work that doesn't work as well. Like, for example, that step, planting oilseed radish should have mattered compared to the planting of this canola here on this field with the same soil type. By the way, they're both canola. There's canola on the field to the left, and then canola here planted in this field, and the nitrogen value after the harvest was exactly the same. So this test proves, without a doubt, that I think oilseed radish is superfluous, does not need to be used, and that is kind of not a good thing, because it breaks realism, breaks immersion. But there is a use for it, as we discussed earlier, for oilseed radish. It's not exactly a crop that's useless. You can put it in a soil type that has 0 nitrogen in it after a harvest, and you only want to add like 40 nitrogen to the soil for a certain crop type. That's where it would be very useful. But for this purpose, for this test, I'm finding out that it is superfluous, meaning useless. But superfluous is a much more fancy way of saying it, because it basically says you wasted your time, and that it should have been useful. It's a much more powerful word to the word useless. It brings more of a oomph to the thought process of, well, that's right on the edge, isn't it? Yeah, I missed a spot. Back it up. That's better. Okay. So now we're talking. Now we're getting some a nice bit of path here. Nice big chunky path of canola. Finish off this little area down here to clean it up. And then I'm going to get this little stretch here that I missed. Alright, this is, whoops, I got another spot to get. Let's get that one little bit there first. Almost ready. Almost ready to jump out of the tractor and give my final verdict. So we're looking at the nitrogen. And my final verdict is that oilseed radish is useless for this purpose. From the previous videos, the 2 previous videos that I made before this was just all theory, and there was no real definitive test. But this video tests all those videos into one, and these 2 soil types confirms that in between crop rotations for canola after a field with loam and sandy loam, and the nitrogen value is at 60, and you know that you're going to plant canola, this is just for this crop. Other crops may have different results. But on both fields I had canola. On this field over here I had planted oilseed radish, then plowed the oilseed radish back into the dirt, then planted the canola, and got the same results on this same type of field with the same crop without planting the oilseed radish. That's just silly. But that's the purpose of these tests. Alright, I'm going to continue harvesting this corn and planting the canola. More videos to come with the sunflower harvest and the soybean harvest will both be in the same video. And that is, let me show you on the map. The sawmill has a field of sunflowers, and then right below the sawmill is a tiny little triangle. That's the soybeans. Here. So that'll be the next video. All right, everybody, have a great day. Thanks for sticking around. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate that.